So in today's class, we'll look at cardiac muscle. So basically, you need to know the structure of cardiac muscle, the properties of cardiac muscle, the type of action potential of cardiac muscle, which will be followed by generation and conduction of the impulses, and then we will take up ECG. Now, heart consists of, we can divide the heart into 5 subsystems. Atrial and ventricular musculature, they are the contracting muscles. Specialized conducting tissues means SA node, AV node, internodal branches, Purkinje fibers, bundle of phase, branches, and Purkinje fibers. These are the specialized excitatory and conducting systems. 4 valves, 2 semilunar valves, and 2 atrioventricular valves. The coronary circulation, and the last is the autonomic innervations, both sympathetic and parasympathetic. In case of heart, parasympathetic is inhibitory. Just remember this fact. In case of heart, parasympathetic innervations are inhibitory. Vagus nerve, muscarine type of receptors, acetylcholine is a neurotransmitter involved. Sympathetic system is excitatory. Norepinephrine and epinephrine are the neurotransmitters. Receptors are beta adrenergic. In my class, I'll be dealing with the atrial ventricular musculature, the autonomic innervations. The other 2 part, valves and coronary circulation, will be dealt with later on by other teachers. I will not delve into it. Now, cardiac muscle, you have already seen briefly before. In anatomy also they must have taken. Even 12th standard you have studied a little bit. It's a striated muscle. It has similar structure like a sarcomere. The diameter is about 10 to 20 microns. Length is around 50 to 100 microns. It has extensive T tubules. It has actin, myosin, troponin, trophomyosin structures. If you see this, it has an intracaulated discs also, low resistant intracaulated discs. This is more like a cartoon of an the cardiac muscle structure. It is supplied with lot of mitochondria because it requires ATP. Blood capillary circulation, extensive blood capillary circulation will be there. So it supplies ATP. The intracaulated discs, the low resistant intracaulated discs with gap junctions are important for the conduction of impulse rapidly to whole musculature. So the whole muscles will contract as a unit. So in the cardiac muscle, you have a great density of mitochondria. Capillary blood supply is extensive because of the high oxidative capacity value. It requires ATP for its continuous activity. The gap junctions and intracaulated discs helps in rapid conduction of impulses across the whole musculature, so the whole muscles can contract as a unit. This is an electron micrographic structure. You can see that the dark, this line is the intracaulated, low resistant intracaulated discs, through which the impulses which are generated through specialized conducting tissues is conducted to the atrial musculature and ventricular musculature, and the whole atrial musculature and ventricular musculature will contract as a unit, as a functional syncytium. The main function of the heart, you know, is to pump the blood. For pumping it, the whole muscles have to contract as a unit. So you can say the heart has 2 units, the ventricular unit and the atrial unit. So when the impulse is generated and conducted to the atrial musculature, the atrial muscles will contract as a functional syncytium, also as a single unit. because the impulses are rapidly conducted to the muscles. The its own because the impulse are generated spontaneously by the SA node. There's two innervations, sympathetic and parasympathetic. The properties of cardiac muscles, 5 properties you have to remember. The properties: automaticity, it generates impulse on its own, and rhythmicity. These two properties are properties as SA node, AV node, Purkinje fibers. They have this property of automaticity and rhythmicity. They generate the impulses and which are conducted across the muscle fiber. Excitability, conductivity, and contractility, they are properties of the other cardiac musculatures, atrial musculature and ventricular musculature. Atrial musculature and ventricular musculature, they don't have property of automaticity and rhythmicity. But they do have property of excitability. They can generate impulses. Under contractility, there are other properties, all or none law, which you already know, staircase phenomena, and refractory period also, you are aware of it. We'll look at it briefly later on. Let us look at each of these. Automaticity and rhythmicity. Automaticity is the property of the cardiac muscle. It generates impulses spontaneously. Normally, it is associated with, seen in case of SA node. Normally, when we say heart rate is 72 or 80, it refers to that the impulse generated at SA node. It is conducted to the atrial musculature, ventricular musculature, and the ventricles are contracting at the rate at which SA node has generated the impulse. Automaticity property is there with Purkinje fibers as well as the they can generate impulses and it can be rhythmically generate the impulses. Rhythmicity is also property which is referred to this. These impulses which are generated, they are generated rhythmically and spontaneously and which is conducted further. Like SA node generating an impulse of 70 to 80 or so. Purkinje fibers generating at the rate of 40 to 60. Sorry, AV node generating at a rate of 40 to 60. Purkinje fibers around 30 to 40, normally around 30. The heart is beating at the rate at which SA node is generating the impulses. The inherent SA node rate is around 120. 110 to 120 is the inherent SA node rate. But because of the normal vagal tone, the SA node rate is seen around 70 to 80. Okay. Now, due to what we call as, it has a pacemaker potential. The rate pacemaker potential is, if you look at the action potential of pacemaker cells, this is a kind of action potential we see in case of pacemaker cell. So, what is pacemaker potential? If you look at the slope of this between two action potential, this is this slope. This slow depolarization seen between these two action potential is called as pacemaker potential. The slow spontaneous depolarization seen between two action potential is called as pacemaker potential or diastolic depolarization, or it's also called as pre-potential. Slow spontaneous depolarization seen between two action potentials in case of pacemaker tissues. Which are the pacemaker tissues? SA node, AV junctions, Purkinje fibers. The slow spontaneous depolarization, which is seen in case of these action potentials, the slope of this slow diastole pacemaker potential will determine the rate at which it will fire. If the slope is steep, it will fire rapidly. If the slope is more slow, then it will fire slowly. We'll see the next figure. We'll come to this. If the slope is steep, the rate will be fast. If slope is shallow, slow, then the rate of generation will be slow. Sympathetic stimulation, the rate will increase. Increase in temperature, you people have, if you have fever, your heart rate is high. If you check your heart rate, it will be high because the slope will increase, the rate will increase. Sympathetic stimulation, the slope will become steep, the rate will be fast. Is a normal one. If the slope is reduced, vagal stimulation is inhibitory, the rate will reduce. So rate of impulse generation reduces, the slope reduces, rate will reduce, heart rate will reduce. Now what is the ionic basis of this pacemaker potential and the action potential of these pacemaker tissues? Remember this numbering 4, 0, 3 and 4. These are phases. Remember these numbers and the phases, the ionic basis. The slope, the 4 phase is because of slow decrease in permeability of membrane to potassium ions. The permeability of potassium gradually decreases. See, at resting condition, you know, the permeability of membrane for potassium is high. So in case of these tissues, there's a gradual decrease in permeability of membrane potassium. That means the potassium is retained back. The negativity inside gradually decreases, becomes slowly positive, and it will reach the threshold. Once it reaches the threshold, it will fire the action potential. Okay, this is a slow action, slow rise. The peak, the 0 phase is because of voltage gated calcium channels get activated, and the repolarization phase is because of potassium channels. So here, primarily the action potential is because of activation of voltage gated calcium channels and slow decrease in permeability of membrane due to potassium permeability. The potassium permeability reduces, the membrane potential reaches the RMP, and it will fire an action potential. Spontaneously, this permeability goes on decreasing, and the pacemaker potentials are generated. If you observe another thing, the RMP here is less negative compared to the muscle itself proper. And secondly, these are slow action potentials. Now let's go further. The rate of, I told you, the rate of depolarization will determine the heart rate. Increase in temperature will increase the slope, will increase the rate. Decrease in slope by parasympathetic stimulation, vagal stimulation will decrease the rate. Increase in slope by sympathetic stimulation, epinephrine is a neurotransmitter, will increase the rate. Okay. Let's go further. Now let us look at the action potential of the atrial musculature and ventricular muscles. The shape will be little different in atrial muscle and ventricular muscle, but the shape and duration will be little different, but overall shape will be similar. It has phases 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. 4 is RMP. 0 is the rising phase, 1 is the repolarizing phase, 2 is the plateau phase, and 3 is the fold repolarization. So what happens in the 0 phase? There is activation of voltage gated sodium channels. Rapidly the potential will rise. At 1, the potassium channels will become inactive. It will start falling back. The falling back phase, it will not continue because here the slow potassium channels activation is delayed. In case of cardiac muscles, the potassium channels are much slower and it gets active much later. But here what happens is the voltage gated calcium channels get activated. So there will be influx of calcium ions at this phase. So as this influx of calcium ions, the plateau phase is seen. The result of this plateau phase is it increases the duration of the action potential. Not only it increases the duration of action potential, it increases the duration of the absolute refractory period also. Because of this influx of calcium ions, 3 things are happening. 1, there's a plateau phase. 2, the duration of absolute refractory period has increased. 3, we'll come to that third point later on. It results in excitation contraction coupling. It results in excitation contraction coupling. This action potential is the electrical event. Excitation contraction coupling will mechanical event is the contraction. This action potential is not of contraction, this is of the electrical event. Okay. So the plateau phase is seen because of the activation of voltage gated calcium channels. It maintains the depolarization. At the end of the plateau phase, the voltage gated potassium channels get activated. It will result in rapid repolarization. And later on, stage 4, the potential is restored. Potassium channels will get inactivated and sodium potassium pump or sodium potassium ATPase activity will be seen and ionic balance will be restored. Clear? We'll go to the next slide. So, as I told you in the previous slide, in this phase of plateau, where there's influx of calcium ions, this will result in excitation contraction coupling. So we'll go to next step. Excitation contraction coupling. The calcium, as you know, when your teacher who had taught you skeletal muscles, smooth muscles, here there is, I'll give you a homework. You have to write a difference between skeletal muscle, cardiac muscle, and smooth muscle. Right? Prepare a differentiation chart of skeletal muscle, cardiac muscle, and smooth muscle differentiation chart. I'll be giving you two or three homework today before I end the class. This is the first homework. You'll make a difference between skeletal muscles and cardiac muscle and smooth muscle. Okay. Now, excitation contraction coupling, you know that one of the most important component for excitation contraction coupling is influx of calcium ion. The calcium ion source in case of cardiac muscle are 2. Is 1, the extracellular calcium ions, and second is the sarcoplasmic reticulum, which stores calcium ions. So calcium ions entry mainly when the action potential arrives, it will cause the calcium ions are entering from the L-type calcium ion channels, which will activate the ryanodine receptors channels, and this activation of ryanodine receptors the activation of this ryanodine receptor channel will cause a release of more calcium ions from the sarcoplasmic reticulum. A spark of calcium ions will be released. The calcium ions will bind to troponin C and result in cross-bridge cycle. I'm not going to explain to you a cross-bridge cycle, which has already been taught you in skeletal muscle, so it's almost similar. So we will not be going into detail of that. So the same mechanism, sliding filament mechanism is there. Calcium will bind to troponin C, activate the myosin attached to cycle. The whole cycle will start. Then there is a relaxation phase. The calcium which has been bound has to be released, has to be sequestered. The calcium which is released will be sent by calcium pump into the calcium sarcoplasmic reticulum, or will be removed by sodium calcium exchange out of the cell to the extracellular fluid. Look at it. The action potential which has arrived will cause entry of calcium ions into the action potential arrives into tubule, entry of calcium ions from the tubules into the L-type channels. So this is the L-type channels or ryanodine receptor channels into the cell, which will cause activation of these channels, causing a spark of calcium ions released into the cytoplasm, which will bind to troponin C, will initiate the cross-bridge cycle. The calcium ions have to be sequestered. This calcium ions, which has to be, will be unbound from the troponin C. The unbound calcium ions will enter the sarcoplasmic reticulum or move to the extracellular fluid. You see, one fact you should remember is 80% of the calcium ions will be sequestered into the sarcoplasmic reticulum, and 20% will be removed to the extracellular fluid by sodium calcium exchange during the relaxation phase. The flow chart, we'll look at the flow chart. Action potential arrives at the cell membrane depolarizes. The L-type calcium channels in the T tubules open. Influx of calcium ion. Calcium ions induces release of calcium through the sarcoplasmic reticulum, ryanodine receptor channel. Increase in calcium inside the cell. Calcium binds to troponin C. It will initiate the cross-bridge cycle contraction process. During the relaxation phase, there will be unbinding of calcium ions from the troponin, which has to be re-sequestered, and it is taken out by sodium calcium exchange, or it is pumped into the sarcoplasmic reticulum by the calcium pump, sodium calcium pump, ATPase pump. The sodium potassium gradient is maintained by sodium potassium ATPase, sodium potassium pump. Okay, excuse me. Okay. Now here's the second homework. What is the calcium ion concentration in the intracellular level calcium ion concentration? First. Second is, if sodium potassium pump is inhibited, what will be its effect on the concentration of calcium ion? What happens to calcium ions? Third, what is its effect on the force of contraction if sodium potassium pump is inhibited? Okay. The fourth question here is, name some sodium potassium inhibitors. 1, 2, 3. 3 inhibitors. sodium potassium pump inhibitors. Clear? Questions? What would happen if sodium potassium pump is inhibited? Calcium ion concentration level in the intracellular fluid and the force of contraction. Name some sodium potassium pump inhibitors. In that also, I would like you to name 3 inhibitors which act if it is given in the extracellular fluid, and 1 inhibitor which acts if it is given in the intracellular fluid. Okay, just list name of the inhibitor. This is our second homework. I will send you a link, or I will give you a link. This one, you have to submit that homework. Now, if you compare the action potential of, when I talk about action potential, I told you the action potential amplitude, form, duration varies from cell to cell. The motor neuron action potential, skeletal muscle action potential, and the cardiac muscle action potential, the amplitude and form are different. Similarly, the action potential in cardiac muscle itself is, if you look into your books, you'll find the action potential in cardiac muscle is different. Like the action potential of SA node is a little bit different compared to Purkinje fibers and AV junction. The action potential of atrial musculature is different compared to ventricular musculature. So here's the third homework for you. In case of cardiac muscle, slow response action potential and fast response action potential. Write a difference between slow response action potential and fast response action potential. The pacemaker potentials are all slow response action potential, and the atrial musculature, ventricular musculature, cardiac muscle action potential, this plateau type of, they are fast response action potential. So write a difference between slow response and fast response. So this is your third homework. Now, cardiac muscle action potential has a plateau phase. I told you the plateau phase is because of influx of calcium ions, which causes this plateau. Because of this plateau, there are 2-3 things happening. One, it causes excitation contraction coupling. Second, the refractory period is prolonged. The plateau is seen. Third, the duration of action potential increases. Now, the refractory period is prolonged. The excitation contraction coupling has occurred. As the refractory period is prolonged, and with the influx of calcium ion, the excitation contraction coupling has occurred. What it means is the contraction has started even before the completion of the electrical event. Result is, by the end of the absolute refractory period, 70% of contraction is complete. Understood? If you look at the arrow, by the end of the absolute refractory period, 70% of the contraction is complete. So what it means is, what is absolute refractory period? Absolute refractory period means that you cannot have the next action potential during that period. If you have successive stimulation occurring, repeated stimulations are occurring, during this period, you cannot have a second action potential. You can have a second action potential only in the related refractory period or after the action potential has been completed. So During absolute refractory period, you cannot have a second stimulation. So at the end of absolute refractory period, 70% of contraction is complete. So if a successive stimulation is occurring, action potential can be generated only after it. So result is you cannot have summation of contractions in case of cardiac muscles. Repeated stimulation will not result in summation of the action potentials or summation of this cardiac potential action. So if summation cannot take place, means tetany of cardiac muscle is impossible. Because of this prolonged absolute refractory period, tetany of cardiac muscle is impossible. It's a protective mechanism. Cardiac muscles cannot be tetanized. Cardiac contraction begins almost simultaneously with the action potential, with the electrical event. And by the end of the absolute refractory period, 70% of contraction is complete. Hence, tetany of cardiac muscle is impossible. Increasing the frequency of stimulus will not result in summation of the action potential. And tetany of cardiac muscle is impossible. Clear? Okay. This is an important question. Many times it has been asked why cardiac muscles cannot be tetanized. Okay, so we have seen the properties of atomicity and rhythmicity. Excitability is a property of the muscle, of cardiac muscle. It get the impulse which is generated as a node. It is conducted through the cardiac muscle because they have the property of excitability. They can get, and the impulse also conducted rapidly through the intracaulated disc all over the musculature, and they can contract as a unit. So the contractility is also a property which is there to these muscles. They are supplied with autonomic innervations, sympathetic and parasympathetic innervations. Sympathetic is excitatory and parasympathetic innervations are inhibitory. Few terms you need to know: bathymetropic, chronotropic, dromotropic, inotropic. Bathymetropic it refers to irritability or excitability. Chrono means time. It refers to the frequency at which the impulses are generated. You can have positive inotropic effect, negative inotropic, positive contractility or negative. Dromo means it refers to conductivity. Like for example, if there is a sympathetic stimulation is there, it can have positive effect. So it has positive inotropic effect or positive bathymetropic effect or positive chronotropic effect. Parasympathetic stimulation, vagal stimulation have negative effect, negative inotropic effect or negative chronotropic effect. It affects the frequency, or the rate might be reduced, contractility might increase, conduction velocity might increase or decrease, excitability might increase. Like for example, a sympathetic stimulation, inotropic will increase the force of contraction, chronotropic will increase the rate, heart rate, dromotropic refers to increases the conduction velocity, bathymetropic means it refers to the excitability, and nosiotropic refers to relaxation time. We'll summarize this again quickly. Action potentials which are generated by the SA node is conducted to the atrioventricular musculature through the internal pathways. In the next class or probably next week, we'll take the conduction pathway. We'll look at it later on. The action potential which has arrived at the point 2 at the L-type calcium channels will activate the L-type calcium channel, will induce influx of calcium ions. The calcium ion induced will activate the ryanodine receptor channels, will cause release of more calcium ions from the sarcoplasmic reticulum. The calcium spark which has released, calcium ions which are released will bind to troponin C and induces that cross-bridge cycle, and contraction will take place. During the relaxation phase, the calcium ions are unbound. The unbound calcium ions are resequestered. The calcium ion store or calcium ions are pumped back. 80% of calcium ions are pumped back into the sarcoplasmic reticulum. 20% calcium ion are exchanged by sodium calcium exchange. Sodium calcium exchange. It is removed to the extracellular fluid. And sodium ions concentration is restored by sodium potassium pump. This is the whole cardiac muscle contraction properties and functions. Go to a small topic again. Okay, like I told you, the plateau phase results in excitation contraction coupling and a long refractory period. Unlike a skeletal muscle action potential, compare skeletal muscle action potential and cardiac muscle action potential. Repeated stimulation of, if it is a repeated stimulation of skeletal muscle, there will be continuous peaks and they will get summated and there will lead to a sustained contractile state. It can lead to tetanic state. Unlike that, in cardiac muscle, what happens is you cannot have a second action potential till the end of the absolute refractory period. So you will have the action potentials only after the end of absolute refractory period. The result is tetany of cardiac muscle is impossible. Sustained contractile state is not possible. Maximum tension is not possible here. Okay. So this is figure shows you that because of this long absolute refractory period, tetany of cardiac muscle is not possible. It prevents tetany of cardiac muscles. Okay. We also seen the sympathetic stimulation is excitatory. It causes increasing slope of the diastolic depolarization of pacemaker potential. Rapidly firing action potential increases the rate. Whereas parasympathetic stimulation decreases the slope, makes it more slow and decreases the rate. So decreases the heartbeat. A flow chart summarizes the whole event of sympathetic and parasympathetic. The receptors, don't forget the receptors. Muscular type of receptors, acetylcholine are released, or acetylcholine which are binding to muscular type of receptors. Norepinephrine, beta-1 receptors. Hyperpolarization occurs because of efflux of potassium ions or influx of calcium ions. And rate of depolarization increases. Sodium ions are increases, calcium ions influx. Heart rate decreases, heart rate increases. We'll jump this slide. Just 10 minutes. Let us take trapeze phenomena, and then we'll stop the class. Now, staircase phenomena or trapeze phenomena is also called as Bodit's phenomena. Bodit's phenomena is given by scientist Bodit in 1871. This phenomenon is observed when you take a when a skeletal muscle is taken in animal experiments, when you give when you have an asystole animal experiment, if you stop the heartbeat, where we put in a asystole, and after asystole, you again increase the force of stimulation. You give stimulation, go on giving repeated stimulation slowly. The rate of contraction, the strength of contraction, not rate of contraction, sorry, the strength of contraction will slowly increase and then reach a plateau. The force of contraction will slowly increase and then reach a plateau. This phenomena is called as a staircase phenomena, or it is called as a Bowditch or trapeze, also trapeze. If you increase the frequency of stimulation after an asystole, there will be gradual increase in the force of contraction. Then it will reach a plateau phase. This phenomenon is called as Bowditch phenomena, or trapeze phenomena, or staircase phenomena. This is because of gradual increase in calcium ion concentration inside the cell after an asystole. After an asystole, if you look at this figure here, the heart is stopped here. There's an asystole. Then you start the stimulation. Slowly, the force of contraction increases. Then it reaches the plateau. It remains constant. This is because of gradual increase in calcium ion concentration inside the cell till normal systolic concentration is reached. Okay. This is called as Bowditch phenomena or staircase phenomena. So you have 3 homework. I hope you remember the homework. And do it. Maybe I'll ask you to submit. We'll meet again on Saturday. We'll continue from there. Okay, I'll stop here. You can take a break for, I think, what is the time? You have 5 minutes break.